French Foreign Legion. How many of you guys knew that a U.S. Marine can join the Legion?
The Persian Gulf, 1991. An Allied coalition unleashes Operation Desert Storm.
Never knew the Legion was a Desert Storm. That was the time I was in. Had no clue.
Forces lead the assault. 100 hours later, the Iraqis are defeated, and Kuwait is liberated.
This kid's good. Stand by.
Over 30 nations came together to form the coalition. But one band of soldiers stood apart. The French Foreign Legion.
Yeah, no idea there.
A regiment shrouded in secrecy and littered with mystique. They shouldered a heavy burden. Guard the coalition's left flank from counterattack.
That's a big portion of that battle right there, the left flank. If you guys look that up in the history, it's a big part that I didn't even know existed till this video.
General Norman Schwarzkopf commanded the Allied coalition.
The Legion did a great job. They had the mobility that was required for that kind of an operation. A lot of people said when we went to propose the operation in the first place, but we'd bog down in the sand or we'd hit the rocks or something like that.
Yeah, remember that?
They didn't at all. So that was really the ideal role for them.
That's big praise from Norman Schwarzkopf. If you guys don't know, look him up. Google his name. Talk about a legit guy. I think he was a West Point guy, Vietnam. You know, he was back in the day. The old salty generals are still around. For PC, right?
Few know the Legion still exists. Even fewer have been inside.
It's an older video.
Since its inception nearly 2 centuries ago, the Legion goes where a legionnaire is most needed. They're part of the regular French army. But no one holding a French passport is allowed to join.
And do you guys know if that's still true? I understood that French citizens could join the Legion. Or maybe they got to give up their passport. Let me know in the comments.
Only foreigners can enlist. And once you're in, you may not make it out.
Dramatica.
The Legion was created as a way to funnel immigrants and criminals out of France and onto the battlefield. An idea as old as war itself. Mercenaries who'll fight for profit, whatever the cost.
I'd argue the point with him to say they're not fighting for profit, they're fighting for their brothers, right? The other legionnaires. They may want to get out of the country they're from, but they want to, when they get there, they want to fight for the Legion, which the Legion fights for France, right? But it's a big difference from what I know from talking to some legionnaires here on the channel.
In a quiet town in the northeastern United States, Thomas Kaddish goes about his daily routine. For 2.5 years, he's worked as an auditor for a local oil company. His weapons today are calculators and computers.
Change your pace, huh?
But they weren't always. Inside, Thomas hides secret memories of times past and battles fought. From 1980 to 1985, Kaddish served in the French Foreign Legion. By the time he joined, he'd already spent 4.5 years in the U.S. Marine Corps.
Now, I never met a jarhead. I met a Marine. I was in the Legion. So this is interesting to me, being a Marine. Good stuff.
When being one of the few and the proud lost its edge, he went looking for something more adventurous.
When I joined the Legion, I didn't know whether or not I'd lived through the 5 years. My goal was to be a mercenary. Life expectancy of a mercenary isn't very high. I figured my life expectancy as a legionnaire would be about the same.
Yeah, again, I don't know if I call them mercenaries, but I'll let them use that, term for this purpose. I just call them legit true warriors, right?
Today, more than 8,000 men from over 130 countries serve in the French Foreign Legion.
130 countries.
Chinese, British, Australians, Finns, Americans. Colonel BOUQUIN is the commander of the Legion's elite 2nd Parachute Regiment.
There's only one difference between the French Foreign Legion and the rest of the French army. It is the fact that we accept foreigners.
Hey, if you guys like this video, I'll do more on this series here. Put part 2 in the comments.
For everything else, it is almost exactly the same. The same rules, the same equipment, the same weapons, the same vehicles, the same structures, same organization.
With one exception. While French law allows women to serve in the army, the Legion itself won't let them in.
Hey, is that still the case? If any of you Legionnaires out there, I appreciate it, brother. Let me know. Is that still the case? Are women not allowed in the Legion? That would be interesting in today's culture.
General Bernard GRAIL is the highest-ranking officer in the French Foreign Legion.
Pour l'instant, on ne peut pas.
For the moment, it is impossible for us to accept women into the Legion because our training system and our day-to-day life within the Legion just won't allow it.
Yeah, the PC culture, it's tough when you get a men's locker room together, right? Like this. Grown men. The things that come out of their mouth are going to be tough. It's going to be challenging to make it where you're not offending somebody. There's already probably guys messing with each other because one guy's from Estonia, one guy's from Italy, right? No less, throw women into the mix. It could be a real challenge to make that work in today.
To make this family work and create a cohesive unit from this group of foreigners, we have to place everybody into a big bowl, close the lid, and shake it around. And like they do in other countries, we can't separate the men from the women.
Each man is here by his own choice.
Formation par groupe successif en avant.
Some are on the run. Others seek a challenge.
Yeah, most of the Legionnaires I've talked to, they weren't on the run. They wanted to test their mettle, right? They wanted to see if they were true pipe hitters. They thought they were. And a Legion, to them, is that test, right?
Most crave adventure and hear the calling of the warrior.
If you're going to join an army, you don't want to spend all your time in garrison. You don't want to waste your time training and training and training and never getting a chance to use it.
That's exactly right. Especially when he joined 1980 to 85. You think he was in the Marine Corps 4 years, so 76 to 80. Not much going on, right? He trained to be, let's say he's an infantry guy. Not much going on then. So a lot of guys really, again, want to test their mettle. And the Legion was his outlet for that.
If you join the Legion, more likely than not, you're going to go to combat.
This is where their story begins. Paris, Fort de Nogent, the entry point into the Legion.
Any of my French viewers ever been to this base here or seen it? When I was in Paris, I didn't even think about going. I'd definitely like to check it out and see if there's any tours, just because I really appreciate the Legion's esprit de corps, right? These guys, there's no joke in these guys. There's no quit, no joke, no slack, whatever you want to call it.
Millions of men have passed through these gates into a dark and secretive world where only 1 in 12 is accepted.
Wow. That's pretty significant. You think 1 in 12, right? 1 in 12, which means less than 10% get accepted. I don't know what the attrition rate is in training. So right off the bat, pretty selective to get into the Legion.
A fierce competition to be one of the chosen few.
Je crois que c'est
It's the only institution of its kind in the world. The only one that gives a man a second chance. Whatever the reason, if the man wants to shed his old skin, leave behind his entire life, he can come to us and start over. Be reborn in a way, without a lot of questions about his past.
The point is that when everything is all right for you in your life, you don't get the ID to join the French Foreign Legion. Only people who had some kinds of failure in their life get...
I'd argue that point. I don't think there are people who had failure in their life. I think that people want to test their mettle again, right? See if they're really pipe hitters they think they are. I'm sure there's people who go in for different reasons, just like any other military, but I don't know about that one.
ID to join the Legion. That's to say that they had a problem.
Not everyone comes with baggage, but some do. 28-year-old Randolph Clark was rejected by the U.S. military. He discovered the Legion on the internet. 2 months later, he arrived in Paris.
You figure this guy's U.S. citizen, right? Got rejected from the U.S. military. Maybe he had some background, criminal background, maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's something that at that point in time, he was trying to get in. There wasn't a big need, so they were more selective in the U.S. The Legion says, bring it, brother. Let's see what you got.
When I was around 18, 19, I had gotten in some trouble back in the States. And kind of sailed around a bit, went to college. I decided that I needed to make something happen.
The Legion offers every recruit a fresh start and a new identity if he chooses.
What languages?
A guy who was speaking in broken English said, wait here, and somebody else came in who spoke English much better and said, why do you want to join the Legion? So I told him why I wanted to join the Legion, and he looked at my passport, and he said, wait here, and about 5 minutes later, he came back with a piece of paper with a different name typed on it. He said, sign this, your name is now Jeffrey Keith.
That still to me is unbelievable. It's so intriguing, right? Go in as Joe Smith, now he's Jeffrey Keith. Unreal.
Under their new name, they sign a 5-year contract that promises a rendezvous with danger. From this moment, a recruit begins a new life, whether he's looking ahead or over his shoulder.
They sign a blank check with their life as collateral. That's not military, but these guys look like they're seeing a lot more conflict day to day. It doesn't look like there's much admin in the Legion. There's not an air mechanic in the Legion, right?
He chooses to shun his past. It won't get through the front gate. Colonel MISCHKA YAKOVLEFF.
The idea is that, in effect, we'll sign the contract under fake identity, and that is anonyma. So you've got diplomas. We create a disconnect between the you were as a civilian before and who you are now as a legionnaire.
Yeah, that's a big deal, right? So you got some baggage. They're comfortable with the baggage. They put that to the side and say, all right, you got the medal to join. You got the medal to make it through training. And then the next 5 years, right? Fight for the Legion on behalf of the French.
To someone who's looking for you, you're not there anymore. You've left this planet.
The new recruits get shipped south. Here, they undergo 3 weeks of rigorous testing. Those who make the cut face a tougher ordeal. 16.
I like that, right? So the first 3 weeks is a getting to know you phase. We like you, you like us. Or you send them through all the way through a boot camp, a 3-week boot camp, and you hack it. Then, if you can, we'll train you. What do you guys think? Put that in the comments. Should the U.S. do that? Have a 3-week getting to know you period. And if you have the medal, what to do with the job, right? Then we'll train you to be a legionnaire.
Weeks of basic training in southwestern France at the garrison of Castelnaudary. Few recruits know what goes on here, but the rumors alone drive some away.
We heard that people got beaten to death in training, and if you made a mistake, you could get shot, and that their live fire exercises were really live fire. We'd heard things like that and wondered whether or not they were true.
The truth itself is tough enough. The pounding begins immediately. An intense test of physical fitness, mental well-being.
Yeah, you're not showing up to Legion fat body, right? You better show up the looks of this thing in the shape necessary just to make it through the first 3 weeks to see if you're going to get trained to be a Legionnaire.
And the sheer will to live.
They have a different style than the Americans. It's a lot of physical. It's you go. You have no choice. You know, don't sit down. Don't cry about it. You go. You're a Legionnaire.
Legionnaires train as they would fight, and fight as they train. And they're trained to be expendable. More often.
I'd argue that again. I don't know this guy who was doing the announcement. Why would you have somebody expendable who you're going to put that much money and energy into, right? That much resources to train them. You need them. It's not like something you can throw away like a disposable water bottle. You need these guys to fight for you. There's not a lot of people. There's 1 out of 12 that get through the selection, to get trained. You figure there's a real small pool of people that are going to meet the requirements here.
And not, they are sent to some of the most dangerous places in the world.
They usually like to send the Legion first because if things do work out fine, then they can give the glory to the French army. And if they don't, well, so a few foreigners got killed. No big deal.
Guy's got a chip on his shoulder, huh?
1997. Chaos breaks out in the Republic of Congo. Thousands of Europeans are trapped in the middle of a civil war. Most European governments stand silently in the wings.
Get it was this guy.
Too nervous to intervene.
Oh, Lord.
But the French have an option the others lack. An army of foreigners willing to fight for France. Or die trying.
You guys think the black waters of the world have taken over a lot for what the Legionnaires do in France, right? So we don't have Legionnaires in the U.S., but do we use our black waters, in other words, our NGOs, to perform this kind of duty? Sounds very familiar to me. Put that in the comments. What you guys think?
I think they are more disposable. They have accepted to give their life for their new family. They are eventually ready for death.
The Legion deploys 600 commandos from the 2nd Paratroop Regiment. On the ground, they encounter the legacy of France's colonial past. Anti-French sentiment on both sides makes the Legionnaires targets themselves. After days of attacks,
You figure the French had a large presence in Africa, and I don't even know what it is today. If you guys do, put that in the comment section. You know, where the French are still really prevalent in Africa, but I know the Congo, Algiers, you know, places like that, the French still, or at least in the past, were pretty dominant. They were, I want to call it colonies, but you guys that are experts, put that in the comments and let us know.
Counterattacks. They round up the foreign nationals and shepherd them to the airport. 1 Legionnaire is killed. 5 others gravely wounded. Ian Lawson is a 13-year veteran of French Foreign Legion.
We evacuated 6,500 people over there in just under 2 weeks.
Wow.
Some refused to go in to do the job. They said it was too dangerous. We were asked to do it, went and we did the job. Showed the world that we could do it. But that's the way it goes.
Come on. Yeah, those kind of deals, you're not getting special medals, you're not ending up in a big parade, right? It sounds to me like if you don't make it, the Legion. If they do make it, What these guys are saying, the French regular army's getting credit. I don't know how much truth is to that, but that looks like a tough gig. You're going in with very little support. Helicoptered in, helicoptered out. With small arms. No heavy artillery in the background, no tanks, no armor. It's a tough deal.
That idea is drilled into every recruit at Castelnaudary. Once the order is given, the mission is sacred. And it will be accomplished. But at what cost? After a few weeks of basic training, recruits break into smaller units and travel to camps outside Castelnaudary. A 20-minute drive to the north is a secluded French Foreign Legion installation known as the Farm. The recruits suffer together as a team. The training methods aren't sophisticated. Exposure to cold.
There is no sophisticated training measures to get into shape, right? Or do infantry stuff. There's no computer simulations that are going to make you a good infantry soldier, good SF guy, whatever. It's going to be cold, wet, miserable, hot, whatever it takes. The training, right? Mission men.
Not enough food. Not enough sleep.
Being an American,
that's standard.
I was used to eating a normal breakfast. Breakfast in the Legion is a small piece of bread and a cup of coffee. And you don't get to eat anything until about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. They're always running a food deficit, so you're starving to death constantly cold.
Hence no fat legionnaires. They're not stuffing their face 3 times a day.
When the Legion was created in the early 1800s, it quickly gained a reputation as a band of gritty loners and rebels, molded together into a single warrior unit. They fought around the world, from Mexico to Morocco.
Wow.
Along the way, they developed a fierce pride and a set of grim traditions.
That's what I like about these guys. They're proud. They're proud to be legionnaires. Think about it. They're not fighting for their country they're from, most of them. Most of them are fighting for the Legion on behalf of the French. So if you're Swedish, for example, you go to join the Legion, you're not fighting for Sweden anymore. That's a totally different concept that I can think of any other military in the world has.
One is known as march or die.
When the Legion was in the desert, they would march places together, and if you lagged behind, there were always rebels hiding, watching your every movement, waiting to kill that lone, weak person. So if you didn't march, you died.
If you guys like this series I'm going to do, put part 2 in the comments. Thanks for watching.